Okay, good morning again, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Q&A webinar about the transition from Classic to Arcadia Interface. So we decided to put together this Q&A webinar because I'm assuming some of you may have heard from our recent email broadcasts about the upcoming upgrade. We announced that we will be ending support for the Classic interface effective November 1st, 2019. So we decided to have this webinar so that 6 months in advance, you would have the opportunity to ask some questions and we can provide some information to guide you through the transition process. Our hosts for today would be Eric Lauer, co-founder and director of customer experience, and Madhulika Sharma, director of community support. So I'm going to pass over the mic to you, Eric, to say a few words.
Oh, sure. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Yeah, we just wanted to, we released a notice with our last upgrade. You would have seen, as Claudia mentioned. And really the purpose of today's call is just really a high-level overview to provide you with sort of the reasons why we've taken this approach, and also just to give you a heads up as to the main areas that will be affected by this change. And just to, yeah, the intent of this webinar isn't to go into a deep dive or anything into any particular system. However, we will be offering, we'll provide you the details at the end of the session to reach out to support, and what we'll be doing is setting up, we can set up a one-on-one session with each individual organization as required to go through your specific situation and how it may affect your business in particular. So again, yeah, we'd like to avoid that in today's call, but just give you a little bit of background. And Malika and myself are here just to really just set the tone and kind of set the stage as to, you know, why we're doing this. Maybe I'll start with that. The reason why we've had the Classic interface was actually the very first interface, well, not the very first one, but what a very early on interface that we had with SmartSimple platform going back, you know, circa 2004 era, you know, time. So with our release of Arcadia, which was, Malika, maybe 6 years ago-ish, yeah, we, you know, came out with a more modern interface. Not just from a, you know, people may think the interface is just a look and feel, but there's other things that involved here with the interface. So it's not just how it looks on the screen, but how it's set up on the platform itself programmatically. So Arcadia is actually using newer technology that's available on the web today. It's meant and designed to work with modern browsers, modern smartphones, tablets. They're all you know, responsive. You can actually use it on your phone, and the screen will adjust, and it says, hey, I know I'm on a phone, and it will lay out the menus accordingly in the screen and things like that. Classic doesn't have that support. It doesn't have the technology to handle that. And while, you know, we try our best to keep everything backwards compatible, it's become just too hard to maintain that older type of functionality from an interface QA perspective, development perspective, to keep that going. So we think 10 years is a good run for an interface and you know, web application timeline. So unfortunately at this time we will be deprecating it in November, but we're here to help you and get you through the stages. So maybe, I think on the next slides, we're just showing some examples of, you know, what really will be affected by this change and things like that. So some timelines for you is really, you know, November 2019 will be phased out, and those dates will just, we'll be running some webinars like this throughout the summer and into the fall, just to talk more about it and, you know, kind of more impact that it may have on you. The last point here, though, is the key thing. Again, you know, if you're attending today's call, it probably means you have a concern. However, you know, we'd be more than happy for you to reach out after the Q&A session to have a specific one-on-one consultation with your requirements specifically. That way we can do a deeper dive and actually go through the system with you and say, okay, look, this screen or these portals could be impacted. However, maybe these other areas won't be, or some things to keep in mind. So if we go, we have some screenshots here. For those of you who are on Classic, this will look familiar in terms of the left-hand navigation. You may not all have a fancy dashboard like that, but this is what we refer to as Classic. So Classic is really this style of with the navigation on the left-hand side, a lot of links, hyperlinks that you would see maybe on websites when you'd hover over, you know, it underlines them, you know, that kind of style. And that's it. And we just have a few samples here. If we, maybe the next slide here again, this is just a dashboard. This is one is now flipped into Arcadia, right, Malika? This is the same.
So when you take the screen and you switch it over to Arcadia, this is what they will see.
Yeah, so you can see here, nothing's broken. Your data is all there. All your data is there. Nothing changes with your data. Again, it's just the layout or the overlay of that data on the screen. Instead of a left-hand menu, the menu is actually moving up into the top right.
That's on the right. Next one. Go to the next one.
Yep. So what you would have previously seen on the left-hand nav bar, you're now going to see in the little. You may have seen, you know, similar. There's a lot of social media uses that the rubric, or I've heard it, people call it a little waffle iron image there on the top right corner. But that's quite common in any online system now. I think even on Gmail, things like that. This brings up your main menu, which used to be on the left-hand side. A benefit of this is, you know, you're saving some screen real estate. You know, the menus are tucked away up at the top. They're still there, they're just in a different location. So again, just to stress, it's your data is not changing. It's just, you know, the location of how you access the information that you typically used to see.
It's much better user experience when it comes to, you know, getting more real estate on the screen, as well as, you know, having the ability to have less scroll on the page and being able to, like what you see on your screen right now is when you open your application or a record, you previously had to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the screen to get to your level 2 records or the underlying records. So now all that has been now moved to the left side. Yeah. So within the record, when you look at this green panel on the left side, that's where all your level 2s will be, and you can just click away as you navigate and maneuver through the page rather than scrolling. You know, so the scrolling has been reduced. There's more tabbed view, which is much more contemporary look and feel. And from the user experience, more than anything, it's much more user-friendly. And from the usability standpoint, we're leveraging a lot of functionality as well as a lot of real estate, as Eric said, on the screen to give you a much better experience overall. And also, there's a lot of added functionality on the platform level on SmartSimple that you can actually leverage when you use Arcadia, which may not work so well in Classic because, you know, to Eric's point earlier, backwards compatible, it's been 10 years now. So I think it's time to move on to the next and, you know, to allow you to leverage as much as, you know, functionality as possible on your screen and on your system so that, you know, the end users get a better experience and overall, you know, they feel that the system is really helping them do the work in a much better way. And that's one of the screens from the IME and insurance side. Yeah. Again, similar look. This is a classic interface. You have the basic search on the right side. You have the left navigation as we saw on the previous screen, and all the records on the case management are displayed here. The same screen when switched over to Arcadia will look like this. So you have, you know, more options at the top. So again, you can tab away through those options, and then you get the whole area where the list view is presented. And the searches are also advanced searches now, as opposed to the basic searches, which give you a lot of opportunity to do much more intelligent searches on your system using a lot of comparison operators and whatnot. So there's a lot of added functionality that will work so much better in Arcadia.
Yeah, so one of the things, like with the Arcadia interface, we had the opportunity to really move away from the report builder, and you can do a lot of that functionality now in the Arcadia list view. So the list view becomes almost your ad hoc searching. So in addition to a Google-style search, the layout will change, and you can do, like it was Malika referenced, a lot of combined criteria just in your day-to-day search without having to learn or make use of the report builder, which you may have done in the past.
You can also see on this screen right here, the tabs that you see, there are numbers in brackets. So that's where it's giving you a count of how many records are being displayed in the list view. This is just one example of, you know, some of the added functionalities that are available through Arcadia and work so much better from the user experience standpoint.
Yeah, so in this case, like these are just saved filters that you would have created. You can use the top. Again, there's so many, I mean, Arcadia's been around now, like I said, for a long time. And we've been continually adding to it as we've gone. So instead of going through every single feature that could, be possible, we'd rather talk to you sort of how, individually and say, okay, how are you using your system? What are you using it for? Okay, here are some things you can take advantage of right away. Now, just to be clear, like the Arcadia is available for everyone already, and it has been for the last 5-6 years. You can, one of the suggestions that we're going to sit with you is like, just try it out, just enable it for your individual user. So you can do it based on role, and then each person can have the ability to enable the interface on demand. So that gives you a lot of time to try it out yourself. Maybe if you're the system administrator for your organization, just put yourself into Arcadia mode and see how it's going to affect your system, see how it's going to change the look and feel. Like we said, a lot of this stuff is now tucked away into the main menu option. You're going to have a more robust searching functionality in your list views. The list views are nicer. You can, resize columns, the sorting's better. There's a lot of stuff you can do that you weren't able to do in the classic interface, and that's just a pure technology feature there.
But I think you made a very important point because, for how do we go about what is the next step? I think the system administrators on each instance and on each system, they have the ability right away to switch over. So without affecting the other end users and rest of your team, on your own account, when you log in, you can switch to Arcadia and see how the system will, transition it over. And then if you want to add more functionality or add to enhance that look and feel, then you can also get in touch with us and we'll help you, design it and take it to the next level. But right away, without impacting anybody or the production system, you can actually switch over to Arcadia and see, and then you can switch back to Classic once you've done your navigation.
And we know the two biggest areas that will be affected will be list views. So the Arcadia style list views have actually, you may not have realized it, but the way you build list views, even in Classic, are using the new way. You may still have some old list views that have been built prior to Arcadia that will just need to be updated. We'll help you with that, as well as your portals. So the one thing I want to be clear about your portals, even if you're using the classic portal with the icon-based portal approach, it looks like your Windows desktop, let's say, if you're using that style portal, there's actually not, that will work. So we made sure that when you convert to Arcadia, even though you convert the portal to Arcadia, the top header may change, but your icons will still work, and they'll be easily ported over into the new Arcadia environment. So those are the things we can walk you through on a case-by-case basis. We've had some experience in this already. Some clients who have already, transitioned from Classic to Arcadia of their own volition without being, prompted by the, deprecating the Classic view, have gone through this already with some good feedback and a lot of more options as well, things you can do with the portal in Arcadia mode that you couldn't support in Classic. Now, we showed you some of the charts and graphs. With the Arcadia interface, you're actually able to make them interactive. You can use list view searches to drive icons on your desktop, such as aggregate counts of things. Like I said, interactive charts and forms where you can actually drill down from your dashboard and see a pie chart, let's say, click into the pie chart, see the records that made up that piece of the pie, and then actually go to the record that was in there. So those things we didn't support in Classic. We didn't have the ability to do that with the technology, but in Arcadia, we can. And that's just maybe some of the things to be aware of when you're thinking about, what's going to be affected. There's some new field options that we support in Arcadia that weren't available in Classic that are pretty neat. Inline data grids and, the way we handle the multi-file uploads, things like that are much more modern and using, again, it's not just a visual change, it's actually the technology behind the scenes. That's really what's driving this. So I don't know if you guys have ever tried it, but flip yourself into Arcadia and then go to your phone or tablet and log into this SmartSimple using the browser on the device. And you'll see that it'll be responsive, it'll flip over properly on the screen, you're not side scrolling left and right. in your, miniature browser trying to figure out stuff. The system will realign itself. It knows, it's fully responsive. So things of that nature. Anyway, maybe we'll pause at this moment. And maybe before we pause, just one thing. If you have any, like I said, we'd really like to set up one-on-one sessions with everybody to really do a deeper focus on your individual organization, how it can help. So we've set up, if you email support@smartsimple.com and put in the subject line "transition to Arcadia," someone will reach out to you and we'll set up a one-on-one session to address your specific concerns with your system. So that's readily available already. It's just a subject line, so we'll be looking on the lookout for that. Maybe any questions at this time, top of mind? Again, we don't want to go too deep into your specific systems, but maybe just general concerns.
Yeah, if you have any questions, we have the Q&A box or the chat box that you could type your questions in, and we're here to answer them live. Okay, so
yeah, we're just going to show you one thing before we sign off, I guess, today, is just what we were talking about, how to flip yourself into Arcadia mode. Madalika is just going to get a browser session going. And just for the administrators on the call, just to show you where you can find that menu item to change yourself into the Arcadia mode. There we go. And another point, too, before Madalika, while she's getting this set up, once you're in Arcadia mode, it'd be a good test just to go from start to finish through your business process, just to see how it's going to impact the screens and the layout, and so you're familiar with how your other end users are going to see the screens and any questions, because you may have to rethink how you've laid out your fields. You may say, oh, now that I can go left to right, maybe you want to put it in a tabbed mode rather than up and down scrolling. So you may want to also consider how the information is presented on the screen as well. Sharing the screen.
So, so in order to, so if you're already in Arcadia, once you switch over to Arcadia, I'm going to switch back to classic mode to show you how you can go about this. So when you log in, all you'll need to do is just click on your name at the top. It opens up your profile. You click on options, and there you'll see the Arcadia mode as one of the options. You click into that, and it brings you to the Arcadia mode. Yep. Once you've done your navigation through and you want to switch back to Classic, for the next 6 months, the switching back to Classic is also available as an option. So all you'll need to do in the Arcadia mode, just again, click on your name, and then you'll see the option of Classic mode, which will bring back your Classic mode. So this is something that you can do right away, right after this call. Go to your systems and do the switch over, and when you want to switch back, again, click on your name and go to the classic mode. You're not going to be impacting any other user in your system, as well as not impacting the data or the functionality at any point. And you can continue doing that for the next 6 months till November 1st, when the option to switch between Classic and Arcadia will also be deprecated.
Okay, good. I can answer some of the questions that were raised earlier. Thank you for showing that, by the way. So one question that we have is, how do we create shortcuts on homepage?
So the shortcuts on the homepage are still done through your portal configuration, same place as they always were. There's still a shortcut option like there always was in the portal creation. The shortcut creation has changed in that there's more options now. There's like a built-in picker where you can actually, you don't have to copy and paste links anymore from within the system. You can actually say, I want this shortcut to link to that list view, or I want this shortcut to link to that report that I built, go to the company list or something like that. It's a lot more powerful. And again, this is something that we can get into during your specific client walk or organization walkthroughs. But it's still there. So you go to your roles and security menu, you click on roles, and the portals are still role by role. And within your portal or your role, user role, in the portal menu section, you'll see a shortcut menu to build there. But like I said, if you convert into Arcadia, all of your existing shortcuts will still work. There's no change there. You can see that yourself if you follow Madalika's steps and go to one of your home pages or dashboards. You'll see that all the shortcuts will still work and still continue to function. Okay,
thank you for answering that, Eric. We have another question here. will Classic still be available even if it's not supported?
No. That's what we're driving at, I guess, is November 1st, you will not be able to toggle back and forth. Arcadia will be the only available interface.
Okay. Next question we have here. Will transitioning over to Arcadia affect any custom coding?
It shouldn't, but with any custom coding, it's always good to test. You don't know what impact it'll have, even from upgrade to upgrade. That's not our Classic to Arcadia thing. It's actually a platform thing. So any custom work that you may have scripted or coded is always a concern when you're dealing with any kind of upgrade, not just the interface upgrade. So that's something that you should be looking into with every upgrade, not just for situations like this. That's why we always suggest to use default system functionality, as we can't control what people do with the custom script.
And this will be a good time to start. We have 6 months to test all the functionality available and see how it is impacting, and then we can sit down with you and work with you to fix that.
Okay. So another question that we have here is, calendar event text is displayed with white characters. Can the text be changed to color black as it is with the Classic mode?
Yeah, the fonts of any text in the system is all controlled through the visual settings. So if you have if it's showing up like white on a white text on a white background when you flip into Arcadia, that's just a matter of changing the color coding in the branding section of global settings. So if you're not sure which text is affected there, we can help you with that and make sure that we flip to the right color.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another question we have here: can we see the
Whereas the rest are slowly being transitioned. So it can be a gradual process as well, and which is a good thing since we have 6 months time if we start now.
Okay. Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, hold on. Someone raised their hand just now. Yep, do you mind typing your question in the chat box or the Q&A box? You can also ask us via phone. Okay, I think that's going to be it for now.
But like we said, again, just to stress, this is the most important thing. Have a think about it. That's where we're coming from with this notification. Any questions that you have in your transition to using the new interface, please email us at support with that subject line, just to make sure we know that it's dealing with that rather than a regular ticket. Or pick up the phone if you feel like you just want to call. We'd be happy to set up a time where we can go one-on-one through your particular system.
And again, just a reminder, we'll be having follow-up Q&A sessions during the summer and fall. So if you have any questions that you'd like us to address during your transition process, those Q&A sessions would be helpful, or individual meeting requests would be good too, so that any questions that you may have, it's specific to your platform.
Exactly. Yeah, because as these webinars continue throughout the year, we can be a bit more targeted and actually show some examples of things that we've encountered as we're transitioning people, so that others are experiencing the same. We can address those for everybody.
Okay, hold on. I think we have one last question before we go. Okay, will this be webinar available after today to view again? Let me see if I recorded this.
Yeah, I think we're with that.
Yep, I think we did record this, so we can definitely send this to you after today.
Yep.
Okay, well, Thank you, everybody, for attending this Q&A webinar for today. We hope we answered a lot of the questions that you've had ever since you've heard the announcement of the transition to the Arcadia interface. As always, again, email us, support@smartsimple.com. Make sure you use the subject line, transition to Arcadia. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
Thank you.